Desert Diaries, Week 15. Hello, Arizona calling. And this week we have been back out on the road. Now you might think, blimey, that Sam Walker's been out and about a lot. And you would be completely right. And there are two reasons for this. Number one, I love seeing new places. I love racking up new experiences and meeting new people, and it's just what makes me tick. I mean, some people love being homebodies. I love getting out and about to places. I just love it. I love the fact that we're getting to see now places that ordinarily on a regular 2-week holiday you would just never have the time to see. I love that anywhere within a couple of hours is just easy to pop out for the day and see something new. It makes me really happy. I suppose also I haven't had the chance to do this for years. Not even in England or Manchester, because, well, I worked every weekend for years. Now, I'm aware lots of people would have absolutely loved to be in my position. Getting the job that I did on national radio was amazing. It was a lot of luck that came my way, of course, but I also think it's fair to say that actually it did have a really huge impact on my connection to my family and friends and my mental health as well. I mean, all my husband's family were in the south. So unless you book a weekend off work as a holiday, you can't go and see your family and friends. There were lots of times where he would just go with the girls and I'd be left on my own. And that was tough. I think a lot of people thought I was putting my job before them, which is hard. It was my choice. I'm not complaining about it, but I'm recognising now that this is why having weekends back to do whatever I want to do with my family is just wonderful. It's wonderful. So this week we went to visit a place called Payson. It's about 75 minutes north of Phoenix, and it's often called the heart of Arizona, as it's pretty much slap bang in the middle of the state. Now, the drive via places called things like Sunflower and Strawberry, how brilliant is that? It's not that long, but it is just spectacular because you start off in the dusty desert of Phoenix and Scottsdale, surrounded by cacti and rugged mountains. And then within about 40 minutes, the landscape has totally transformed into dense forests full of deciduous and evergreen trees and huge rock formations covered in giant boulders. It was literally like we had driven into a completely different country, not driven up the road in the same state. It's just amazing. Funnily enough, the road didn't even exist until the 50s, and it would take people 12 hours to drive from Payson to Phoenix until then, which is probably why a lot of them never really bothered. Payson definitely has the vibe of a town that people tend to stay in for their whole lives, and I'm not sure how many people who weren't raised in the town live there now. It's a fairly small town. It's about the size of Knutsford, about sort of 15,000 people, and it is just the epitome of a small town in the American Southwest. Dusty side streets, lots of hunting and gun stores, and signs everywhere for the world's oldest continuing rodeo, which Payson is very, very proud to be the home of. There is, in fact, another rodeo that has been running longer, which is held each year in another Arizona town called Prescott. We're going to visit that soon. And they actually have the world's oldest rodeo, but it took a break during World War II. So Payson uses the longest continuously running rodeo, and everyone's happy. So it's also home, Payson, to an annual fiddling competition renowned the country over. It's now 50 years old nearly. As I gave up the violin circa 1980, as I was completely terrified of my violin teacher, I don't think I'll be making the trip back in September to take part. But we had a great day. We ate a picnic lunch by the side of a lake in a place called Green Valley Park, gawping at all the lovely houses around the lake. And then we spent an hour in one of the most brilliant and utterly unique shops I've ever visited. It's called the Art and Antique Corral. It looks like a store straight out of a Western. I'll put it on social media for you on Twitter at WalkerSam so you can see. Huge wooden veranda, dilapidated wooden handrails, and inside, well, just where to begin. Room after room after room of just stuff. a whole room of old magazines and books. I spotted Gold Prospector magazine from 1997, a room full of mint condition old Star Trek toys from the 60s, all behind dusty glass doors in cupboards, a room full of posters from old rodeo and fiddle competitions, a room full of dead stuffed animals, moose and bears, and strangely sheep. An entire annex full of great hunks of amethyst and quartz. I could go on and on and on. There's some amazing stuff in there, but it's also hard to imagine that a lot of things in there will ever be bought by, well, anyone, frankly. And funnily enough, the whole shop is currently for sale. So if you fancy an adventure, you know where to come. Home of the longest continuing rodeo and fiddling competition, Payson. I'll see you in the desert. I just want to say an absolutely massive thank you if you've taken time to leave me a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcast from. It's all right faff sometimes to do it. It can be really fiddly. So thank you. And your messages really do mean a lot to me on social media, especially when I'm feeling a bit of a long way from home. At Walker Sam is where you can find me on Twitter. I love to hear from you. Thank you. And Sam Walker Radio is where you can find me on Instagram as well. And don't worry if you're listening on an app that doesn't allow you to leave a review, but if you could tell your friends or your neighbours or anyone that you know about the podcast, it would really mean the world to me. So thank you very much indeed in advance.